Hey everybody, this is TJR. If this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. If not, welcome back. And back in mid-June of 2023, Paul McCartney made a public announcement that he would be using AI to finish what he said would be the last Beatles song. Now, when this news was first announced, I posted a commentary video on the matter. And at the time, there wasn't a whole lot of information made available. We didn't know the title of the song, but most of the internet was betting on the fact that it would be the John Lennon demo entitled Now and Then, a track that was attempted during the anthology sessions and then abandoned, reportedly because there was no way to clean up John Lennon's original cassette tape recording. Now, also, George Harrison was known for having vetoed that project back then because he thought it sounded horrible. It is, of course, unclear if his comment referred to the quality of the song or the quality of the source recording, again, John Lennon's home cassette demo. Also, we didn't really know precisely what role AI was going to play in all of this. It was just kind of a vague mentioning. I did speculate that there might be guitar tracks from George Harrison that were left over from the anthology sessions. Now, since that initial announcement and since I made my initial video, Paul McCartney and Sean Ono Lennon both posted tweets stating that AI was just being used to denoise and separate tracks. And after that news was announced, I got quite a few comments from viewers criticizing me for not pointing this out. I do honestly wish that more of the internet would actually look at the dates of the videos that are posted in relation to the date of the information they are quoting before jumping to conclusions. But then, what would the internet be if we didn't have at least half of it running around like a chicken with its head chopped off, jumping to conclusions and speaking before thinking? Anyhow, though, 3 days ago, as of this filming, which is Thursday right now, although this video may not be posted for a day or so, one of my patron supporters, Jeffrey Mills, sent me a link to a podcast interview with magician and entertainer Penn Jillette. First, Jeffrey Mills, let me just say thank you for the link. I wish I could have gotten to this video sooner, but personal matters have kept me from being able to do that till now. In fact, personal matters have been kind of slowing my whole video output. I hope that this will change soon and I can pick up the speed on this channel. At any rate, though, in this podcast interview, Penn Jillette discussed a recent tour of the Abbey Road Studios that he had with none other than Giles Martin, who gave him the opportunity to listen to the new Beatles song, and some new information was revealed. Not only regarding this new song, but also an upcoming re-release of the Red and Blue albums. So, first of all, the name of the song is still not being revealed, but honestly, it will be hugely surprising if it turns out to be anything other than Now and Then. As I had suspected, George Harrison did record some guitar tracks during the anthology sessions, and they're going to be using them. Ringo Starr was approached in the present day to record some drum tracks. He refused initially, but Giles Martin managed to convince him to take part in the session. Ringo finally acquiesced and agreed to do the drum session from his home studio and send it to them. So it is now confirmed that we have all four Beatles playing on this track. Now, also, according to this podcast interview, Paul McCartney recorded a new lead guitar track. And I have heard some grumbling about this on the internet. And honestly, I don't understand it. This would not be the first time that Paul McCartney has recorded lead guitar on a Beatles track. Some of the Beatles songs, I should say, that Paul McCartney has played lead guitar on include Ticket to Ride, Taxman, which is a George Harrison penned tune, and the title track for Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. So I'm just going to assume that there were no lead guitar tracks recorded by George Harrison available for this recording. And if there had been, I do believe that they would have used them out of respect for George Harrison, unless, of course, those lead guitar tracks were not good, in which case the only respectful thing to do would be to not use them. And again, I have heard some grumbling about this. Basically, people are acting as if Paul playing the lead guitar on this is somehow disrespectful to George Harrison. But remember that the George Harrison estate has to approve of everything, just like the Lennon estate. This includes his widow, Olivia Harrison, and his son, Donnie Harrison. Now, another bit of news from this podcast interview that has created some online controversy is the fact that it has been revealed that Giles Martin sampled a vocal outtake from the song Because off of Abbey Road and used it to create new background vocals for this track. Now, this could be manipulated using AI. It could also be manipulated using pre-AI music software, but probably going to be a whole lot faster and easier using AI. Either way, I don't see any real problem with this in the way that I hear some people reacting to about it. You see, you have to understand, with both George Harrison and John Lennon gone, manipulating older vocal recordings is really going to be the only way to recreate Beatle vocal harmonies for this track. Otherwise, they're just going to have Paul singing. Another bit of news that has generated some controversy, and I feel this controversy is maybe a little bit more justified, is that it has been revealed that AI will be used to de-age the newer vocals that Paul will be recording for this track. Now, I can kind of understand how this might be concerning if, say, maybe Paul's voice was de-aged to sound like he did in the 60s. But I would be willing to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and say that they will take the smart and logical path on this and de-age Paul's vocals to how he would have sounded when he was in his late 30s, which is roughly how old he would have been at the time that John recorded the source demo tape. This, in my opinion, would be fine and would certainly work a whole lot better than having Paul sing in his older voice next to John Lennon's voice from when he was roughly 39 to 40 years old. So in regards to this new track, I feel that there is a lot of really unnecessary hand-wringing over this, but then the internet has always been good at that. Now, the next bit of news, though, that was really kind of unexpected, that also came from this podcast interview, is the revelation that the Red and Blue albums were not only going to get a re-release, but be remixed in their entirety. And when I first heard this, my first thought was that the Blue album features a large number of tracks that have already been previously remixed, and a portion that have not. Now, I do believe that every Beatle album, including past masters, will get a remix. I don't know if every album is really worthy of a box set, but I do believe that each album will get a remix eventually. So I naturally thought to myself, well, wait a minute. Shouldn't the re-release of the Red and Blue albums wait until the entirety of the Beatles studio catalog has been remixed? Most of the internet, including myself, was laying odds that the next Beatle reissue would be a remix of Rubber Soul, and that like the previous remixes, they would be made available in both single, deluxe, and super deluxe editions. These re-releases have always come out at the end of the year. So does this mean that we are not getting Rubber Soul this year and are instead getting the Red and Blue albums? Honestly, at first, this didn't make sense to me. But then I thought about it for a bit, and a possibility hit me. Now, before I go on to this next topic, I want to stress that nowhere in this interview was it stated that the remixed Red and Blue albums would be coming out at the end of this year. And so who knows? We all might just be assuming this when it's not true. It may be further down the line. TJR from the future interrupting TJR from the past. As I was editing this video, it occurred to me that the Red and Blue albums are 50 years old this year. And so this kind of makes it, to me, fairly obvious that that is what we will be getting at the end of this year versus a Rubber Soul re-release. I would kind of imagine they wouldn't try to do both in the same year because then most fans would just probably pass on the Red and Blue and go for Rubber Soul. That's what I think most of us would do. Back to the video. But if this is what happens, one thing I hope they won't do for it is new remixes of the tracks from Sgt. Pepper, Abbey Road, the White Album, Revolver, and Let It Be. Because these albums have already been remixed in their entirety. Creating new mixes for the Red and Blue albums, in my opinion, would be both redundant and also very confusing. And I know I'm taking a long time here to make my point, but it occurred to me that if Apple Records were to wait until each Beatle album and the Past Masters discs are remixed first, that a lot of fans might just say, well, you know, I've already got all of this. I don't need it. The Red and Blue albums were my first Beatle records that I ever bought, but I ditched them once I had all the original albums. And when they re-released them with the 2009 remasters audio, I just passed on them because I already had that. But if they re-release a remix Red and Blue albums now versus later, I think the serious fans, of which I am one, will be more than likely to pick it up, since it will be like getting a preview of what's to come insofar as the remixes are concerned. A good chunk of the Red album has never been remixed. And that's because until the technological innovations created by the film Get Back, it just wasn't possible. In addition, a remixed version of the Red and Blue albums could also provide a good jumping on point for younger audiences curious about the Beatles and get them excited for the full album remixes, both past and future. At this same time, the new, as yet to be revealed Beatles song could also be added to the new Red and Blue album reissues as another selling point for us older fans as well. So I can see where, from a business standpoint, it would make more sense to re-release the Red and Blue albums as remixes now versus later. But again, I just hope they don't remix what has already been remixed. Please don't do that. And whatever remixes they create for the Red and Blue albums that are new, I hope they keep that for when those albums are reissued in their entirety, with the entire album being remixed. Anyways, those are my thoughts. What are yours? If a remixed Red and Blue album does come out this year, would you get them? Honestly, it would be real tempting for me to buy this for all the reasons I've just stated. But I could just satisfy myself with just streaming it too and just wait for the original albums to come out reissued instead. Also, let me know if there is any aspect of this topic that you think I may have overlooked, and I will do my best to address it in the comments. Thank you to everyone who clicks like and subscribe. It really helps this channel a lot. And thank you, patron supporters, for all that you do. Patron supporters do get exclusive weekly videos not available here on this channel. And again, thank you, patron supporter Jeffrey Mills, for alerting this to me in the first place. I really do appreciate it. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Hope you all stay safe and healthy. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.